So one of the most frustrating things when you're trying to record a YouTube video is when you get your video all done, you get ready to try to edit it to load it up to YouTube, and you find out that for some reason your audio didn't record. So this is the case here. What I'm doing is a voiceover through Final Cut Pro, and we'll kind of let you know what we're doing here. So basically, this is my first milling of an oak log, and we ended up with 3 logs that we bought. They were all about 9 feet long. This is the base log. To give you an idea of the weight of this thing, I could barely get it off the ground with the grapple, like maybe 2-3 inches. So I dragged it over to used the grapple to kind of drag it over to the mill. So what we're doing here is we're bringing this log up onto the mill, and we're going to start milling the first oak log I've ever milled. So one of the things I've done here is I've got my grapple underneath the log, and the main reason for that is so that I can lift up a little bit with it, just to make sure that it's not going to fall off the front of the forks that lift it up onto the mill. So normally what a lot of people do is they lay down some 4x4s or 6x6s in front of the mill, and that way it's a little bit higher than the feet of the base of the hydraulics. So I haven't done that yet. I'll probably do that next year, but for now I just kind of keeping the grapple here in order to keep it from rolling backwards. So I've got all my side supports up, and you can see I started to lift up the log, taking a look just to make sure it's not coming off. And once I get up to a certain point, then I can back the tractor out of the way, which is what I'm going to do here. And what I'm looking at here is to see if it's going to come up evenly on the toe boards. My toe boards are roughly, I never measured it, but probably about 8 feet, 8.5 feet apart. I'm sorry, 8 feet or 7.5 feet apart. And so what you want is the log to come up and to land kind of centered on the toe boards. That way you can end up raising up one end or the other in order to level it out. So what I noticed here was that the log is not exactly centered over the toe boards. So my concern is that once I lift the toe board up, it's going to push the log to the right. And so what I decided to do was to lower this log back down and try to recenter it. So here I'm going to lift up the front end. You can see it going up a little bit. Once again, the idea is to try to center the piths so that on both ends, so that you end up with boards that are much more stable than if you hadn't centered it. So I'm just measuring up from the frame of the mill on both ends just to see how close we are. And now we're ready to do some milling. At this point, I realize that the base of the log is a little bit too wide for the throat of my mill. So the only option is really to get some wedges under the slab, under the top slab that I was trying to take off, and lift it up so that I can back the blade out. Otherwise, the blade is going to come off the mill, and so this is kind of a time-consuming process, and one you hope to avoid, but you don't always know until you get the mill all the way down the other end. So now I come back with my Milwaukee 8-inch hatchet. I only need to take off a little bit, and my wedges in order to release the tension on the blade. So we'll do that. So you need wedges on both sides to release the tension, but then as you start to move the mill head backwards, you need to move those wedges backwards as well. Otherwise, you end up with the blade just running up against the wedges. So now what we're doing is we're cutting off the piece that was sticking out a little bit too wide on the log. And that's why they'll say that there's that you can cut logs as big as whatever the diameter is, 32 inches, or I think this mill's 32 inches, and but the throat of the mill is actually 26 inches. So it's a matter of trying to take off some of the top and some of the bottom, then you rotate it and take off the opposite side. And you have to keep doing that in order till you get it small enough that you can actually, fit everything through the mill. And so now we're going to start the mill back up and try to work it all the way down through the end of the board. And it looks like we got a little success here. Now that I got the mill all the way through, the next time I lower the mill, I'm going to run into it again. So since it's not hovering over the log, I'm going to make some extra cuts here. So that way I can make a couple more passes without actually running into the same issue as I just did. realized I forgot to put my side supports down some, so unfortunately I got it into the log just far enough that I was able to avoid the blade damage, but now the problem is getting the blade out. This log was bound. I'm having trouble even getting a wedge into it in order to lift it up because there's not enough of it cut, but yet it's enough that it's binding on the blade. So a little bit of work getting it out this time. So what I decided to do was actually take the blade off of the mill, push the mill backwards, and then work the blade out. And the challenge you have is that I've got the challenge you have is that I've got the debarker kind of in the way of opening the door. So I can get the door open just enough to be able to get the blade out on what you guys are looking at on the right hand side of the mill. So the blade does not want to come out. It is really kind of bound in there pretty good. So, however, now that I got the mill head back all the way, the contact strip down below works so that the hydraulics, I can lower them. You can't move the hydraulics when your head is advanced more than like a third of the way down the mill. Not even that, probably a quarter of the way down the mill. So I've got the head back of the mill. Now what I'm doing is, you can't see, unfortunately I'm standing in the way, but I'm lowering the side supports where they should be for me being able to make this cut. And then what I'll be able to do is go back down and connect the blade back up where it stands and hopefully be able to get through this log. Now we're going to take the tractor and move the grapple over and take the cant that we just cut, one of the cants that we just cut off, and load it onto the grapple so that we can work on cutting the other one up into, flipping it and cutting the other one up into boards. Okay, so here we've got the kind of the finished set of boards that we were able to get off of the mill. And to be honest, by looking at them, I can't remember what the dimensions are. I know most of the boards I did were all 1 inch thick. I've got some 8 inch, some 6 inch, and but we ended up with a pretty nice cache of boards. And for first time doing oak, I love it. It's beautiful wood. It's got a nice texture to it, and I'm really looking to see what I can end up building with these oak boards. I probably won't be selling them, or at least not the majority of them. And but anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, give me a thumbs up, and appreciate you watching. Have a great day.